I cling to the hope that most Americans are still willing to fight, and if necessary, to die to preserve our freedoms, our rights, our customs, our history. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum, and welcome all viewers. Today I wanted to react to a video that was posted by PragerU entitled, What Radical Islam and the Woke Have in Common. I know that the majority of my audience are Muslims, but I'm hoping that non-Muslims will watch this video. That's who I'm really hoping to engage with. Because for some reason, Muslims are often talked about when it comes to platforms like PragerU, but I rarely, if ever, see Muslims being talked to. Recently, Dennis Prager, the founder of PragerU, was on Jordan Peterson's podcast, and they talked about Islam. They talked about Muslims. But Jordan Peterson has still not yet had a Muslim on his platform. Instead, he's had people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who are career Islamophobes. In this video, it also has Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Don't get it confused. She's not a Muslim and she's not a scholar of Islam. She's a token Islamophobe. Now, before I begin, I just want to mention that this has a lot to do with the political left and political right paradigm in America. Both sides constantly talk about Islam and Muslims and try to use the topic of Islam to their advantage whenever possible. The right conservative side tends to outwardly demonize Islam, as they do in this video, which is very interesting because right-leaning conservatives are typically far more religious. They tend to believe in the Bible. Dennis Prager is a Jew. So inwardly, in terms of ideologies, in terms of believing in God, believing in certain laws that were sent by God, we believe a lot of very similar things. However, outwardly, the right tends to constantly demonize Muslims. But then you have the political left and the liberals, and they are outwardly for Muslims. However, inwardly, so much that Islam teaches and that Muslims believe are against what the left believes. So Muslims really get used and abused by both sides. But without further ado, I want to respond to some of the specifics about this particular video. It already has over 1.6 million views. It was only posted 3 days ago. Okay, so the first thing that Ayaan Hirsi Ali does in this video is she brings up the tragedy of 9/11. And she says that for 2 decades, I've spoken out against those strands of Islam that gave rise to Al-Qaeda. But that's not really an accurate portrayal of what Ayaan Hirsi Ali does. What she does is she tries to portray Islam as a terrorist religion. Whereas Muslims and scholars of Islam, they know the clear distinction between true Islam versus radical groups, just like conservatives know the difference between being a conservative versus being part of the alt-right. And they don't like it when they are all associated with being racist Nazis, but they'll do the same thing with Islam and Muslims. Now, if we continue the video, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, she basically talks about how doing this work that she does, she's received death threats. She quoted Patrick Henry, "Give me liberty or give me death." So she's promoting this certain idea that there are certain beliefs that are worth dying for. And this is where I think we all need to be very self-aware. All of us, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, whether you are a Jew, Christian, Muslim, atheist, agnostic, there are certain things that all of us believe in. We all derive our values from something, somewhere. There are certain lines that we all draw regarding what we tolerate and what we don't tolerate. There's not one single group that has a monopoly on these things. She seems so completely unaware of the fact that everything she's saying can also apply to the right. They have religious and political goals. They have used their worldview to justify things like invasion, to go into other countries for the sake of changing their regime and democratization. So she goes on to talk about the Black Lives Matter protests and riots of 2020, and she starts making this link between radical Islam and wokeism. And this is what's kind of wild about this video is after 9/11, radical Islam, terrorism, has been seen as an enemy. There were invasions, there were wars, and now the left is being compared to such an enemy. The left, the social justice warriors, the woke crowd, they are now being compared to terrorists. And don't get me wrong, the same has been done by the left towards the right. Conservatives have also been deemed terrorists and demonized, which sort of drives home the point that I'm trying to make. Like, all of these things can be said about every group. Within Islam, yes, there are extremists, but within the political right, you have extremists. You have extremist groups within the political left. And then as she goes on comparing Islamism and wokeism, She says, neither will engage in debate. Both prefer indoctrination of the submissive and damnation of those who resist. Which, again, it's so ironic. I mean, how often are people on the right said that they have been indoctrinated by Trump? And I don't want to make the same mistake that they're making in acting like I'm defending the radical factions of Islam or terrorist groups. But Muslims in general would love to have conversations, would love to be invited onto these platforms to discuss Islam. Muslims believe it's a duty to convey the message of Islam. We can't force anybody to embrace Islam. That's not our job to force anybody to become a Muslim. Our job is to convey the message of Islam. So it's not true to say that Muslims don't want to actually talk about their religion or their beliefs. You can scroll through all of my public videos. This is what I do. I talk about Islam. I invite people to Islam. I try to convey the message so that people understand the truth about what Muslims believe. But for some reason, people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, these career Islamophobes, they get the platform to talk about Islam. I mean, you want to talk about fake news. And I don't want to make this video too long, but it's getting so silly and ironic because she's talking about distinctive rituals, okay? Islamism, they say, death to America, Allahu Akbar, which is really messed up to associate phrases like Allahu Akbar where Muslims, they're saying God is the greatest. This is a phrase that Muslims say when they're praying. To attach that to Islamism, this is really problematic. But that topic isn't the point of this video. To continue, wokeism, okay, their distinctive rituals saying Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe. Don't you guys realize the same can be said about the right, about conservatives? Make America great again? So as the video is coming to an end and she's put out all this emotional propaganda, she literally then calls for violence. She says the grievances of Islamists and the woke aren't merely economic and they won't be satisfied with jobs or entitlements or any other blandishments politicians are willing to offer. Their motivations are ideological and they will be satisfied only with power. And then they'll demand more power. I cling to the hope that most Americans are still willing to fight, and if necessary, to die to preserve our freedoms, our rights, our customs, our history. That was the spirit of Flight 93. We need to summon that spirit again. How ironic. Anyways, thank you for watching. I just wanted to dissect some of this propaganda that's going out there. As a Muslim, we have beliefs that sometimes coincide with the left, sometimes coincide with the right. We Muslims have nothing to hide. In fact, we want you to learn about our religion and our beliefs. But you're not going to learn about Islam from people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali. What she spreads is fake news. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time on my channel, please feel free to go through my videos. Let me know what you think in the comments. To all of my subscribers, I appreciate your support. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.